Your fingers, you just kind of pinch the LAAB and the sticky rice all together and then into your mouth. Mmm! Sawadee ka! Welcome to Hot Thai Kitchen. So on this channel, I have shown you all of the Thai dishes that you know and love. Green curry, papaya, salad, pad Thai, you name it, I got it. So today I want to show you something that you've probably never heard of. It is called LAAB, but no, not the LAAB that you are thinking of. This one is an entirely different dish. It's not even a salad. It hails from the north, so we call this LAAB NUEA. The one that you're probably thinking of, the one you see on restaurant menus everywhere, that is from the northeast, or LAAB Isan. Now, this is not a simple dish. You're going to need to gather quite a bit of ingredients, but I have streamlined it down to make it doable at home while maintaining all the great flavors. First and most important, the heart of this dish, the thing that makes LAAB NUEA what it is the spice blend that we call Prik LAAB. Honestly, gathering the spices for Prik LAAB is the hardest part of this dish. The rest is pretty simple. Let's go through them. Our spice blend includes cumin, coriander seeds, Sichuan peppercorns, fennel seeds, cinnamon, bay leaves, cloves, star anise, white cardamom, black pepper, nutmeg, and long pepper. More on this in a bit. I'm going to toast the cumin first separately because it's so much smaller than the other spices and will burn more quickly. Stir it over medium heat for just a few minutes until they're aromatic, darken just slightly, and they'll start to pop, and then remove from the pan. Now, the rest of the whole spices are going to toast together. If you're feeling hardcore, you can divide this further down to like medium and large ones, but I don't have the patience for that. Keep stirring them over medium-high heat until the coriander seeds and fennel seeds start to darken and also pop. And then out they go. Into a spice grinder and get it nice and fine. Now there's actually a major ingredient missing here, and that is the Prik in Prik LAAB. Prik means chilies. So dried chilies, which I'm going to toast and grind separately. Traditionally, the chilies are all mixed in with the spices, but I like to keep it separate so I can change the level of heat depending on who I'm making it for. And that is it. This will last you several batches, so you won't need to do this part again for a while. All right, I've got my spices, I've got my chilies. The hard part is basically over. Now, let's talk about a couple of spices. Long pepper is probably one you've never heard of before, also known as Indian long pepper. The smell, it's extremely hard to describe, but I'm getting some cloves, some zingy citrus. Adam said he smells pine, but really, what does he know? But anyway, if you can't find it, I wouldn't get too hung up on it. I did get this online. And then Sichuan peppercorns, I'm actually using this as a substitute for a herb called makwen, which is a relative of Sichuan peppercorns, got the same sort of tingly numbness. So this is actually a really great substitute. Now, in Thailand, everyone has their own recipe for Prik LAAB. Some people use more spices, some people use less spices. So if you're missing a thing or two, like don't get hung up on getting precisely this mix. This is by no means like the golden standard of Prik LAAB. Can you buy the spice blend pre-made? If you're in northern Thailand, yes, you can buy it at any market, but in North America, it's very hard to find. I only know of one source. It is made by my good friend, Chef Hong Tai Mi, and this is not a sponsored video, but I've tried it. It's very good. I'll link to it below, and it is also not spicy, so that's great. Now, if you find other brands on the market, please, please, please check that it is Northern LAAB spice mix and not just LAAB seasoning mix, because there are LAAB seasoning mixes out there that is made for the other kind of LAAB. Totally different, so you don't want to get the two mixed up. Once we have our spice mix, I'm going to add it to a mixing bowl along with the chili flakes, as much as you want here. Then add some water and fish sauce and stir it all together. And the liquid will help the spices mix much more easily into the meat. Speaking of meat, I'm going to use ground pork today, and I'm going to pour our spice mixture over the pork and use my hand to knead all of the spices right into the meat, making sure it is thoroughly mixed through. Now, LAAB actually means to mince, and traditionally people would mince the meat all by hand with cleavers to get it super fine, but for our convenient version, store-bought works. Pork is the most common kind of LAAB, but beef is also popular, but you can use other kinds of ground meat if you wish. I've got my pork all ready to go. Now, this part is optional. I'm also going to add some liver. I've chopped some liver into small pieces here. Now, if you don't like liver, you don't have to add it. But I just want to tell you that in Thailand, if you have LAAB NUEA, it's not going to have just liver. It is going to have everything in it. All the offal, intestine, kidneys, heart, stomach, like you name it, it'll be in there, including blood, which they will mix liquid blood right into the meat. And the reason for this leads back to the origin story of LAAB. LAAB was a dish made for big gatherings, special occasions like housewarming, wedding, you name it. And so they would butcher an animal specifically for LAAB, and it would be this big group effort to make LAAB for the whole village. So if you're gonna butcher a whole animal, then you want to use the whole animal so as to not waste anything, right? And that is why. But nowadays, we can go to the store and just pick the parts of the animal that we like. So if you don't like anything, then you don't have to add it. But if you love offal, this is the dish for you. It is like the Thai haggis. So I'm just gonna mix that in, and then I have one more very important thing to note, and we will get cooking, I promise. If you go to northern Thailand and you want to order LAAB, it is very important for you to realize that many northerners eat LAAB raw. It is called LAAB dip or raw LAAB. Yes, beef tartare style. So the offal would be cooked, but the meat and the blood would be completely raw. Like we'd be almost done here. Now, if you don't want to order if you don't want to eat raw LAAB, you have to specifically ask for LAAB KUA. KUA means to stir in a hot pan, which is what we're going to do, or ask for LAAB suk. Suk means cooked. And no, I do not recommend that you try this at home. It is not food safe for you to eat raw ground meat, but I'm just saying that that's a thing that is done in Thailand. And as if that's not enough ingredients, you're going to also need some herbs. I have lemongrass, shallots, garlic, chopped galangal, which you can skip if you'd like, and then some leafy herbs. I have mint, cilantro, green onions, and this is Vietnamese coriander known in Thai as pak preo. It is a key flavor in LAAB, but it's got quite a distinct smell, so if you don't like it or you can't find it, don't worry about it. In stores, it would usually be labeled by its Vietnamese name, rau ram. One last bit of prep before we get cooking. I'm going to make some fried garlic. Simply add some oil into a small pot, and then I'm going to add one piece of garlic as my heat tester. Once that piece starts to bubble, then the rest of my garlic goes in. I'm going to keep the heat low and keep stirring it frequently until it's golden, not brown, because brown means bitter. This should only take about 5 minutes. And then I'm going to drain it through a metal sieve. And then this garlic oil right here is gold. You can use it to add garlic flavor to anything, so feel free to make extra and just keep this in the fridge. We are finally going to cook. So here's my garlic oil. I'm gonna go in with just a tablespoon or so, a couple tablespoons. The rest of it, again, keep it in your fridge. Use it to cook anything, extra garlic flavor. Turning my heat on. Just medium at this point, and I'm gonna go in with my shallots, lemongrass, and galangal. A little bit more oil, perhaps. Smells so good. It's all paying off. So I'm just waiting for the shallots and the lemongrass, all these herbs to turn just a little bit brown. In many traditional Prik LAAB recipes, they'll actually have the galangal and the lemongrass toasted until dried and then blended right into the spice mixture. But I just feel like, you know, lemongrass and galangal, most people get that fresh, so we might as well just make it easier for us and add it fresh into the cooking. All right, I'm starting to see a little bit of brownness happening now. Beautiful. It's super easy now. You add the pork and you cook it until it's done. That's it. That's all you need to do. I told you this was the hard part was over. But what you want to do is make sure that you work really hard to break up any lumps. You don't want this to be chunky. The traditional hand minced LAAB. LAAB, by the way, means to mince. And the traditional hand minced LAAB is very, very fine. So you don't want anything chunky. So you gotta stir, 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 and push, 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 and chop everything with your spatula. Yi, yi, kayi, kayi, as we say in Thai. That is perfect. That is good. I'm gonna turn it off. Now, you want it to have a little bit of liquid. You want this to be kluk klik, which means a little bit of liquid. You don't want it to be swimming in a bunch of liquid. If that happens, just crank the heat really high and keep cooking to reduce that liquid. You don't want it to be bone dry either, although some people like it that way. I feel a little bit of liquid is nice, but definitely not a ton of liquid. Now, I'm gonna add my cilantro, pak preo, and green onions. Not adding the mint because mint would turn black instantly in this heat. Now, if you eat LAAB NUEA in Thailand, it would generally look a lot darker than this because of the blood that they mix into the pork. So we didn't add blood, so it's a lot lighter in color. And that is it. Smells so good. And now I'm gonna go with some mint leaves on top and with extra herbs on the side. Some extra mint, extra cilantro, extra pak preo, whatever you can fit on the side here. You know, it's always served with all these extra herbs and garnishes, and then when I eat it, I never eat it. But when you serve it, if you don't have it, then it's not complete, right? So I almost forgot. I thought this looked a little plain. We're also gonna need to put the fried garlic that we lovingly made on top. And then also some fried shallots, which I bought. This is store-bought. That was the line I drew. I was like, I'm not making fried shallots for this, but if you are so inclined, please homemade that too. So now that's almost complete. To make it complete, you're gonna need accompaniments. It's actually very important to balance all the meatiness and the spices. Fresh, crunchy vegetables. Cabbage is a classic. If you only do one thing, that's what I would do. Asian style cabbage is better, which is like the more squat one, is better, I think, than the Western cabbage. Carrots are great, cucumbers great, long beans are great, and crispy pork rind also goes really well with this. And of course, you have to have this with the rice of northern Thailand, and that is sticky rice. It is not the same with jasmine rice. I tried this with jasmine rice, not nearly as good. Okay, let me show you how to eat this. You can use a fork and a spoon if you'd like, but this is typically eaten by hand. So you take a little bit of LAAB and put it on your plate. Make sure you get all the crunchy bits. I'm gonna make sure I get mint. Put some extra mint on here. And then with your fingers, take a small amount of sticky rice. This is not sushi, like this is all there is. And then to make it even better, you wanna ball it up into a denser ball. So I just use like these 3 fingers and roll it around and just compress it until it's tighter. And that really changes the texture of this into something dense and chewy and mochi like. It was the first time I tried and I was like, whoa, that really made a difference. Okay, and then with your fingers, you just kind of pinch the LAAB and the sticky rice all together and then into your mouth. That feels good. And then follow it up with some cabbage. I don't even like liver, but in this form, because of all the spices and so much flavor going on, I actually don't mind it at all. It's so good, and this is you know, a strongly flavored thing. You only need a little bit to go with your sticky rice. You can make a lettuce wrap out of it if you want. So happy. so worth the effort. And that is it. I hope you give it a try, but if you do, I really recommend splitting the work up so that you're making the spice mix on one day, maybe also even the fried garlic. And then once that's done, it's actually a weeknight friendly meal. Like I have made this on a Wednesday night for dinner if the spice mix is already made. The recipe, as always, will be on hotthaikitchen.com. A special thanks to all of our Patreon members who help support the show. If you want to know what that's all about, how you can get direct access to me and even get some bonus recipes, check out the link in the description below. Thank you as always for watching, and I will see you next time. Sawadee ka!